Hey, beautiful souls! Welcome back to the channel. Before we dive into this heart-wrenching story, I need to know, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, what are you waiting for? Trust me, you don't want to miss the stories we bring to you. Now, let's get into it. The blood on Adrian Dawson's knuckles had barely dried when he heard the screaming. He'd been walking through Central Park at dusk, trying to clear his head after a brutal board meeting where he'd fired 3 executives for embezzling from his tech empire. The November cold bit through his tailored coat, but Adrian welcomed it. Pain was honest. Pain was simple. Unlike the corporate vultures circling his billion-dollar company, unlike the empty penthouse waiting for him, unlike the hollowness that had lived in his chest since his wife died 3 years ago. Then came the sound that stopped his heart. "Please, somebody help! Mama won't wake up!" 2 small figures burst from the tree line, identical girls, no more than 6 years old, their braids flying wild, tears streaming down their brown faces. Their pink jackets were too thin for the weather, their sneakers muddy and torn. They ran straight at him, and Adrian's instincts screamed danger. But something else, something deeper, rooted him to the spot. The first girl crashed into his legs, her small hands clutching his coat. "Please, mister, our mama. She's not moving. She's cold." Her sister grabbed his hand, tugging with desperate strength. "We tried to wake her up. We shook her and shook her, but she won't open her eyes." Adrian's blood turned to ice. He dropped to one knee, his voice steady despite the chaos erupting in his mind. "Where is she? Show me, now." They pulled him into the darkening woods, stumbling over roots and rocks. His mind raced. Overdose, heart attack, assault. He yanked out his phone, already dialing 911 as branches whipped his face. Then he saw her. A young woman lay crumpled beneath an oak tree, her body twisted at an unnatural angle. Her eyes were half open, unseeing. Foam crusted at the corner of her lips. The twins were sobbing now, clinging to each other, and Adrian recognized that sound. The animal keen of children watching their world end. He pressed 2 fingers to the woman's neck. No pulse. "No, no, no," one twin whispered. "Mama, please wake up. We'll be good. We promise we'll be good." Adrian's throat closed, but as he started CPR, as his hands pumped against a chest that had already gone cold, as sirens wailed in the distance, he didn't see the folded note clutched in the dead woman's hand. The note with his name written on it. What do you think happened? Drop your theories in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. This story is just getting started. The paramedics confirmed what Adrian already knew. The woman had been dead for at least an hour. Probable overdose, they said, though the toxicology report would tell more. The twins watched with hollow eyes as their mother's body was zipped into a black bag. Their small hands intertwined so tightly, their knuckles had gone white. Adrian couldn't leave them. He should have. Any rational person would have given their statement to the police and walked away. But as the officers tried to separate the girls for questioning, as they screamed and fought and clung to each other with the ferocity of drowning victims, something in Adrian's chest cracked open. "They stay together," he heard himself say, "and they stay with me until you figure out next of kin." Detective Morrison raised an eyebrow. "Mr. Dawson, we can't just hand over minors to—" "I'm not a stranger." Adrian's voice was cold, controlled. "Check the woman's belongings. I think you'll find something interesting." The note was found exactly where he'd seen it, in Sarah Mitchell's coat pocket. But there was more. Inside her worn purse was a photograph, creased and faded. Adrian at 23. His arm around Sarah at a Columbia University mixer. He barely remembered her. A girl from his ethics class, sweet but forgettable in the chaos of his ambitious youth. The back of the photo read, "To Adrian, thank you for being kind when no one else was. You saved me once. Maybe someday I can repay you." "I don't understand," Adrian muttered. But the twins, Zara and Zoe, he'd learned, were staring at him with something that looked like recognition. "Mama talked about you," Zara whispered, the braver of the two. Her sister Zoe remained silent, her thumb in her mouth, despite being too old for such comfort. She said if anything ever happened, we should find the man with kind eyes who helped her stay in school. Adrian's memory flickered. A girl crying in the library. A tuition check she couldn't cash. Him, young and flush with his first startup money, paying her fees anonymously through the financial aid office. He'd forgotten about it entirely. "She never forgot," Detective Morrison said quietly. "According to her journal, you're listed as emergency guardian. She updated it 6 months ago, around the time she lost her job. Looks like she was struggling with addiction, trying to keep it together for the girls." Adrian looked at the twins, orphaned, terrified, with nowhere to go. Social services would take them. Split them up, most likely. Foster care. The system that broke children instead of saving them. His late wife Elena's voice echoed in his mind. "Promise me if you ever get another chance at family, you won't run from it, like you run from everything else." "I'll take them," Adrian said. "Tonight, however long it takes to sort this out." What would you do in Adrian's situation? Let me know in the comments below. Adrian's penthouse had never felt more cavernous than when he walked through the door with 2 silent, traumatized children trailing behind him. The floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan glittered with a million lights, but Zara and Zoe only stared at the marble floors as if they might shatter beneath their feet. "Are you going to send us away?" Zoe spoke for the first time, her voice barely a whisper. Adrian's heart clenched. "No, you're safe here." "That's what Mama said before." Zara's voice cracked. She didn't finish. He showed them to the guest room, pristine, untouched, decorated in cold grays and whites. The girls sat on the edge of the king-sized bed like birds ready to flee, their small bodies rigid with fear and exhaustion. Adrian had no idea what to do with children. His marriage to Elena had been cut short by cancer before they could start a family. He built empires, crushed competitors, commanded boardrooms, but a 6-year-old's tears were a language he didn't speak. "I'll order food," he said awkwardly. "What do you like?" "We're not hungry," Zara lied. Her stomach growled, betraying her. Before Adrian could respond, his phone buzzed. His assistant. "Emergency. Nakamura deal falling apart. Need you at office now." The Tokyo merger. 6 months of negotiations. $2 billion on the line. His board would crucify him if he didn't show. But looking at these girls, their eyes still red from crying, their mother barely cold. He silenced the phone. "Mr. Dawson?" A voice from the doorway made them all jump. Adrian's housekeeper, Patricia Chen, stood there with an armful of blankets, her weathered face soft with concern. She'd worked for him for 15 years, the closest thing to family he had left. "Ms. Pat!" Zoe's face transformed, a flicker of recognition breaking through her shock. "You know each other?" Adrian asked. Patricia's eyes filled with tears. "Sarah brought the girls to the soup kitchen where I volunteer. Every Thursday for the past year." She knelt before the twins. "Oh, my sweet girls. I'm so sorry." Zara threw herself into Patricia's arms, finally breaking. Her sobs were raw, animal sounds that tore through the pristine apartment. Zoe followed, and Patricia held them both, rocking them like she'd done this 1,000 times before. Adrian watched, feeling like an intruder in his own home. His phone buzzed again. Then again, the Nakamura deal was imploding in real time. "Go," Patricia said, reading his face. "I'll stay with them tonight. I can't just—" "You can, and you will. These babies need consistency, Mr. Dawson. That starts with you showing up tomorrow morning, not abandoning them the first night. Go handle your business, but you come back. You hear me?" Adrian nodded, grabbed his keys, and headed for the door. But Zara's voice stopped him cold. "You're leaving too." It wasn't a question. It was an accusation, wrapped in the bitter wisdom of a child who'd learned that everyone eventually disappeared. Adrian turned back. The choice crystallized in that moment with perfect clarity. His company or these children. His legacy or their future. Everything he'd built, or something he never knew he needed. He dropped his keys on the console table. "I'm not going anywhere," he said. "Let Tokyo burn." Subscribe to see what Adrian sacrifices next. This is just the beginning. The next 3 weeks were chaos wrapped in catastrophe. The Nakamura deal collapsed spectacularly. Adrian lost $347 million in market value overnight. His CFO quit. 2 board members called for his resignation. The Wall Street Journal ran a blistering headline: "Billionaire's Breakdown. Dawson abandons empire for mystery children." But Adrian barely noticed. He was too busy learning that 6-year-olds didn't sleep through the night when their mother had just died. Zoe had nightmares, screaming, thrashing terrors that had her clawing at the air, calling for a mama who would never answer. Zara stayed silent, but Adrian found her at 3 a.m. standing at the window, her small body shaking with suppressed sobs she refused to let anyone hear. Patricia became his lifeline, teaching him the basics. Mac and cheese was its own food group. Braids required YouTube tutorials and infinite patience. And "I'm fine" from a traumatized child meant the exact opposite. The custody hearing was set for 6 weeks out. Social services had investigated. His background check was flawless, his resources unlimited, and Sarah's written wishes were clear. But there was a problem. "Mr. Dawson," his lawyer Jennifer Whitmore said carefully, "there's a complication. Sarah's sister, Candace Mitchell, has filed for custody." Adrian's blood went cold. Sarah never mentioned a sister. They were estranged, but legally, blood relatives take priority. "And Ms. Mitchell is—" Jennifer hesitated. "She's persuasive." The doorbell rang before Adrian could respond. Patricia answered it, and a woman's voice, smooth, confident, calculating, echoed through the foyer. "I'm here to see my nieces." Candace Mitchell was beautiful in a predatory way. Designer clothes, perfect makeup, a smile that never reached her eyes. She swept into Adrian's living room like she owned it, her gaze cataloging every expensive piece of furniture with obvious calculation. "Where are my sister's babies?" she cooed. The twins were in the playroom Patricia had hastily assembled. When Candace entered, Zara stepped protectively in front of Zoe, her small jaw set in a way that reminded Adrian painfully of himself. "Aunt Candy," Zara said flatly. No warmth, no relief. "Oh, my precious angels!" Candace dropped to her knees, reaching for them. Both girls flinched back. "You've been through so much. But don't worry, Auntie's here now. You'll come live with me in Atlanta, and everything will be perfect." "We want to stay here," Zoe whispered. Candace's smile tightened. Sweetheart, this man is a stranger. I'm family. Blood. You belong with me. You didn't come to Mama's funeral, Zara said, her voice sharp as broken glass. You didn't come when she was sick. You didn't come when we were hungry. I didn't know how bad things were. You knew. Zara's eyes blazed with fury beyond her years. Mama called you. You said she made her choices. The mask slipped. Just for a second, Candace's face showed something ugly. Irritation, calculation, greed. Then the syrupy sweetness returned. Mr. Dawson, she turned to Adrian, her voice honey-sweet poison. I'm sure you mean well. But these children need a woman's touch. A real family. Not a rich man's charity project. Before Adrian could respond, his phone rang. His head of security. Boss, we have a situation. Someone leaked your address to the press. There's 20 reporters downstairs demanding a statement about the girls. Candace's smile widened. My, what a circus you've brought into their lives. Is this really what's best for them? Adrian looked at the twins, Zara defiant, Zoe terrified, both of them looking at him like he was their last hope in a world that kept taking everything away. Outside, camera flashes lit up the windows like lightning. Drop a comment if you think Adrian can win this fight. Don't forget to subscribe. Things are about to get intense. The custody battle became a media firestorm. Candace played her role perfectly. The grieving sister, the family advocate, the woman fighting a callous billionaire for her orphaned nieces. She gave tearful interviews about a stranger stealing vulnerable black children from their family. Adrian's reputation took a nuclear hit. Protesters appeared outside his building. His board scheduled an emergency vote. Former allies turned their backs. But it was Jennifer's late-night call that changed everything. Adrian, I found something. Candace Mitchell has a record. Welfare fraud, identity theft, and get this. She tried to get guardianship of the twins 2 years ago when Sarah was in rehab. Sarah fought it tooth and nail. There's a sealed court document. Can you unseal it? Already did. You need to read this. Tonight. The file arrived by courier at midnight. Adrian read it in his study while the twins slept down the hall, and with each page, his rage grew colder, sharper, more focused. Sarah's testimony was devastating. Candace had stolen her identity, racked up debt in her name, and when Sarah was at her lowest, Candace had tried to take the twins, not out of love, but because foster children came with monthly state checks. Sarah had gotten clean, fought back, and won. She'd cut Candace off completely. The final page was a handwritten letter from Sarah, dated 3 months before her death. If you're reading this, I'm gone. I tried so hard to stay clean, but the addiction is stronger than me. I'm so ashamed. Adrian Dawson is a good man. I've watched him from afar over the years. He donated to our shelter. He built that community center in Harlem. He doesn't remember me, but I remember his kindness. Please, don't let Candace have my babies. She'll destroy them like she tried to destroy me. Adrian is their only chance. Adrian's hands shook. The weight of Sarah's faith in him, a man she barely knew, was crushing. He went to check on the girls and found Zara awake, sitting in the hallway. I heard you on the phone, she whispered. Aunt Candy's bad, isn't she? Adrian sat beside her, this tiny warrior who'd seen too much. Yes. Mama said she was poison wrapped in pretty paper. Your mama was right. Zara's composure finally cracked. I'm scared. What if the judge makes us go with her? What if we never see you again? Adrian pulled her close. This child who'd somehow become his world in 3 weeks. I won't let that happen. I promise. Adults always promise, then they leave. Not me. Never me. Zara looked up at him with eyes too old for her face. Winnie, you didn't even know us. Why would you fight for us? Adrian thought of Elena, of promises made to a dying wife, of the emptiness that had consumed him until 2 little girls crashed into his life, of Sarah's faith in a kindness he'd forgotten he'd given. Because you're met now, he said simply, and I protect what's mine. The custody hearing was in 3 days, but that night, Patricia knocked on his study door, her face pale. Mr. Dawson, you need to see this. Candace just posted on social media. The video showed Candace in tears, claiming Adrian had threatened her, that he was using his wealth to erase a black woman's voice and steal children from their culture. It was masterfully edited, viciously effective. Within hours, it had 2 million views. Adrian's lawyer called. The judge just requested a psych evaluation for you. They're questioning your fitness. His company's stock dropped another 15%. And then Zoe appeared in the doorway, holding something, a worn notebook. Mama's diary, she whispered. She made me promise to give it to you if Aunt Candy ever came back. She said it has proof. Adrian opened it with shaking hands. What he read would either save them all or destroy everything. What do you think is in that diary? Comment below. And subscribe. You won't believe what happens next. The diary was a weapon, but it was also a countdown to tragedy. Sarah had documented everything. Candace's schemes, her forged documents, her attempts to sell family heirlooms while Sarah was in rehab. But the final entries were what gutted Adrian. Day 127 clean. The girls made me breakfast. I'm going to make it this time. I have to. Day 143. Found pills in my coat pocket. I threw them away, but my hands won't stop shaking. Day 156. Candace called. Said she'd tell the twins about their father if I didn't sign custody papers. God help me, I almost caved. Day 169. I relapsed. I hate myself. The girls deserve better than me. Day 180. Last entry. If you're reading this, Adrian, I failed. But please, the girl's father is dangerous. Candace knows who he is. She'll use him to take them. Don't let her. They're not safe with him. They're only safe with you. Adrian's blood turned to ice. Jennifer, who's the father? His lawyer's voice was tight. Still searching. Sarah never listed him on the birth certificates. The psych evaluation was a nightmare. The court-appointed psychiatrist grilled Adrian for 3 hours. Why the sudden interest in children? Was this a savior complex? Did he understand the racial implications of a white billionaire taking black children? Was he emotionally stable after his wife's death? Adrian answered honestly, but he could see the doubt in the doctor's eyes. Meanwhile, Candace's campaign intensified. She appeared on morning shows, held press conferences, painted herself as a crusader against wealthy white privilege. The narrative shifted. Adrian became the villain, the colonizer, the man trying to erase these children's heritage. Protesters grew more aggressive. Someone threw paint on his building. The twins couldn't leave the penthouse without being photographed, analyzed, weaponized. Zara stopped eating. Zoe stopped speaking entirely. Patricia found Adrian at 4 a.m., slumped at his desk, surrounded by legal documents and empty coffee cups. You look like death, she said gently. I'm losing them, Pat. The hearing's tomorrow, and I'm losing them. Then fight harder. I am fighting. But Candace has biology, race, gender, every argument that matters. And I have what? Money? That's exactly what they're using against me. You have love. They love you. That has to count for something. But Adrian knew better. Love didn't win in court. Evidence did. And Candace was burying him in a narrative he couldn't counter without destroying the girls in the process. The breaking point came at midnight. Jennifer called, her voice shaking. Adrian, Candace found him. The father. His name is Dante Cross. He's connected to organized crime, currently under federal investigation. And she's bringing him to court tomorrow as a character witness. She's claiming you're keeping his children from him. That's insane? Sarah said he was dangerous. She's spinning it as you manipulating a dead woman's words. And there's more. Dante wants custody too now. He's claiming Sarah kept the girls from him illegally. Adrian's world tilted. This isn't about the girls. This is about money. Of course it is. Dante sees a billionaire attached to his kids. That's a meal ticket. And Candace probably promised him a cut if he backs her play. Adrian looked at the twins' bedroom door. They were finally asleep after hours of Zoe's nightmares. How could he tell them that tomorrow they might be handed over to a criminal father and an aunt who saw them as dollar signs? His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Drop the custody fight. Walk away. Or I'll make sure everyone knows what really happened the night Elena died. You're not the saint you pretend to be. See. Adrian's hands went numb. Candace had somehow found out about the one night he'd never spoken of. The night Elena begged him to end her suffering. The night he'd held the morphine drip. The moment he'd granted his wife's final wish. It was mercy. It was love. It was also technically illegal. If Candace revealed it, he wouldn't just lose the twins. He'd lose everything. His freedom, his company, his life. At dawn, Adrian stood in the girls' room watching them sleep. Zara's arm was draped protectively over Zoe. Even unconscious, she was trying to save her sister. He thought of Sarah's faith in him, of Elena's dying words, of 3 weeks that had somehow rewired his entire soul. The hearing was in 4 hours. And Adrian Dawson had to decide, surrender and save himself, or fight and risk losing everything, including the children he'd come to love as his own. What would you do? Comment now. And please subscribe. We're almost at the breaking point. Adrian walked into the courtroom like a man facing execution. Candace sat with her lawyer, perfectly styled, playing the role of concerned aunt. Beside her was Dante Cross, expensive suit barely concealing the dangerous edge, cold eyes that assessed Adrian like a predator measuring prey. The twins sat between Patricia and a social worker, small and terrified. Zara held Zoe's hand so tightly their fingers were white. Judge Catherine Brennan entered, stern, no nonsense, famous for her protection of children's rights. She'd decide their fate today. Candace's lawyer went first, painting Adrian as an unstable billionaire playing savior. They presented the psych evaluation, highlighting his unresolved grief, his impulsive decision-making, his lack of child-rearing experience. Then Dante took the stand. I loved Sarah, he lied smoothly. She kept my daughters from me out of spite. Now this man, this stranger, is trying to erase me from their lives. I've changed. I want to be their father. Adrian's lawyer cross-examined, but Dante was prepared, coached. Every answer was calculated. Then came Candace's bombshell. Her lawyer stood. Your Honor, We have evidence that Mr. Dawson may have engaged in illegal activity related to his late wife's death. We believe this raises serious questions about his judgment and moral character. The courtroom erupted. Adrian's vision tunneled. This was it. Career suicide, criminal investigation, everything lost. Judge Brennan banged her gavel. "Counselor, that's a serious accusation. Do you have proof?" "We have testimony that—" "Objection!" Jennifer was on her feet. "Unsubstantiated allegations with no bearing on this case. This is a transparent attempt to smear my client." "Your Honor," Candace's lawyer pressed, "Mr. Dawson's character is absolutely relevant when—" "No." Everyone turned. Zara was standing, her small voice cutting through the chaos. "Zara, honey, sit down," the social worker whispered. "No!" Louder now. "You're all liars. Aunt Candy doesn't want us. She wants money. And he," she pointed at Dante, "he hurt Mama. I remember. She had bruises and she was scared of him." "Zara," Dante started, "you made her cry. You hit her, and she screamed, and we hid in the closet. Zoe remembers too. Tell them, Zoe." Zoe was shaking, but she nodded, tears streaming. "Monster," she whispered. "Mama called him Monster." The courtroom went silent. Judge Brennan leaned forward. "Mr. Cross, do you have a history of domestic violence?" "Those are lies from a confused child." "Records," Jennifer interrupted, pulling documents from her briefcase with shaking hands. "I just received these an hour ago. Police reports from 2019. Sarah Mitchell filed 3 restraining orders against Dante Cross, all dismissed when she recanted, likely under duress. And hospital records showing injuries consistent with assault." Candace's face went pale. This wasn't part of her plan. Jennifer wasn't finished. "I also have Sarah's diary, which details abuse, threats, and Mr. Cross's explicit statements that he would take the girls and disappear if she ever left him. Sarah fled. She hid. She protected her children from this man. And Ms. Mitchell," she turned to Candace, "you knew all of this. You knew he was dangerous and you brought him here anyway." "I didn't. I thought he'd changed." "You thought you could use him to break Mr. Dawson's case and split the settlement money." The judge's expression hardened. "Ms. Mitchell, did you conspire with Mr. Cross?" "Your Honor, Adrian's phone buzzed. A text from his head of security. "Package delivered to courthouse. Open it now." A bailiff brought forward a manila envelope. Inside was a flash drive and a note. "Sarah sent this to me before she died. I was her sponsor in NA. She wanted you to have it if anything happened. Rita." Jennifer played the video on the courtroom screen. Sarah appeared, gaunt but clear-eyed, recording herself. "My name is Sarah Mitchell. If you're watching this, I'm dead. I want Adrian Dawson to raise my daughters, not Candace. She'll sell them to Dante." "Not Dante. He's evil. Only Adrian. He doesn't know it yet, but he has the biggest heart of anyone I've ever met. He saved me once without even trying. He'll save them too. Please. They're only safe with him." The courtroom was silent except for the twins' soft crying. Judge Brennan removed her glasses. "Mr. Cross, you're dismissed. And Ms. Mitchell, I'm referring your actions to the state attorney for investigation. Get out of my courtroom. Both of you." As they left, Candace furious, Dante threatening revenge under his breath, the judge turned to Adrian. "Mr. Dawson, approach the bench. Bring the children." Adrian's heart hammered as he walked forward. Zara and Zoe pressed against his sides. Judge Brennan's stern face softened almost imperceptibly. "These girls have chosen you. Their mother chose you. Against my better judgment about expedited custody, I'm inclined to agree." "Oh my God! Drop A in the comments. Subscribe now. You need to see how this ends. Judge Brennan wasn't finished. However, she continued, her voice carrying the weight of years on the bench, I need to address the elephant in this courtroom. Mr. Dawson, you're a wealthy white man seeking custody of black children in a country with a painful history of separating black families. I need to know, truly know, that you understand the responsibility you're taking on. Adrian knelt so he was eye level with the twins, then looked up at the judge. Your Honor, I can't pretend to understand what these girls will face growing up. I can't pretend my privilege doesn't exist. But I can promise to listen, to learn, to connect them with their culture and community. Sarah trusted me with her most precious gift, not because I'm perfect, but because she knew I'd die before I let anything happen to them. His voice cracked. These girls have made me want to be better than I've ever been. They've given me a reason to come home. They've given me family. Zara spoke up, her voice steady now. Judge, Mr. Adrian teaches us about Mama. He shows us pictures and tells stories. He doesn't try to replace her. And Ms. Pat, she's teaching us to cook Mama's recipes. We go to the community center where Mama took us. We're still us, just not alone anymore. Zoe nodded vigorously. Safe, she whispered. We're safe with him. Judge Brennan studied them for a long moment. The court recognizes that biology doesn't make a family. Love does. However, this will be a conditional custody arrangement. Mr. Dawson, you'll undergo family counseling, participate in cultural competency training, and maintain regular check-ins with social services for 1 year. After that, we'll review for permanent adoption. Yes, Your Honor, anything. Then temporary custody is granted to Adrian Dawson, effective immediately. The courtroom erupted. Zara and Zoe crashed into Adrian, their arms wrapping around his neck. He held them like they were made of starlight, tears streaming down his face for the first time in 3 years. But outside the courthouse, Dante was waiting. Adrian didn't see him until too late, didn't see the gun until Dante grabbed Zoe, yanking her back with brutal force. Nobody takes what's mine, Dante screamed, pressing the barrel against Zoe's temple. You think you won? You think some judge's paper protects you? Everything slowed. Zara screamed. Patricia lunged forward. Security reached for weapons. Let her go, Adrian said, his voice deadly calm, even as his heart shattered. Take me instead. She's 6 years old. She's leverage, and you're going to wire $10 million to my account, or I'll... Zoe bit down on Dante's hand. Hard. He howled, his grip loosening for just a second. It was enough. Adrian moved. 20 years of kickboxing, 3 years of rage, a lifetime of protective instinct, it all focused into a single moment. He tackled Dante, slamming him into the concrete. The gun skittered away. Security swarmed, pinning Dante down as police rushed in. Adrian grabbed Zoe, checking her for injuries, his hands shaking uncontrollably. Are you okay? Baby, are you hurt? You saved me, she sobbed. You didn't leave me. Never, 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 never. Dante was arrested on kidnapping, assault, and weapons charges. As they dragged him away, he screamed threats, but they were empty now. The threats of a broken man with no power left. Candace was arrested hours later, charged with conspiracy and fraud. That night, back in the penthouse, Adrian sat between the twins on the couch. They were watching The Princess and the Frog, Patricia's suggestion for cultural representation. Zoe was actually laughing. Zara leaned against Adrian's shoulder, finally relaxed. Adrian, Zara said quietly. He'd asked them to drop the Mr. He wasn't their teacher. He was their, "Yeah, sweetheart? Can we, can we call you Dad?" Adrian's breath caught. He looked at both of them, these fierce, brilliant, broken, beautiful girls who'd crashed into his life and rebuilt it into something better than he'd ever imagined. "I would be honored," he whispered. Zoe climbed into his lap. "Dad," she tested the word, then stronger. "Dad?" "That's right, baby girl. I'm your dad now." Patricia watched from the doorway, tears streaming down her face. Adrian's phone buzzed with notifications. His company's stock was recovering, the board had issued an apology, partnership offers were flooding in. Apparently, the world loved a redemption story. But Adrian barely glanced at it. His empire could wait. Right now, his daughters needed him to finish the movie. If you're crying too, drop A in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe. We're almost at the end. 6 months later, Adrian stood in the backyard of his newly purchased house in Brooklyn, a place with a yard, neighbors, a community that looked like his daughters. The penthouse had been sold. That sterile monument to loneliness didn't fit their life anymore. "Dad! Dad, watch this!" Zara hung upside down from the monkey bars, braids swinging wild. "I'm watching? Be careful." "She's fine," Patricia laughed from the porch, frosting a cake. "Stop hovering." Zoe ran over, covered in finger paint from the art station they'd set up. "Look, I made Mama." The portrait was abstract, childish, but there was Sarah's smile, captured in pink and yellow strokes. Adrian's throat tightened. "It's beautiful, Zoe Bear. We'll hang it in the living room right next to the others." Their home was filled with Sarah now. Photos, memories, stories. The girls needed to remember where they came from, even as they built something new. The adoption hearing had been last week, final and permanent. Zara and Zoe Dawson, officially, legally, eternally his. A car pulled up. Jennifer, carrying a file folder and wearing an uncharacteristic smile. "You look happy," Adrian observed. "That's terrifying coming from my lawyer." Dante took a plea deal. 20 years, no parole. And Candace flipped on him, exposed his entire operation. "She's looking at 5 to 10. Adrian nodded. Justice, finally. Not just for his daughters, but for Sarah, who'd fought so hard to protect them. "There's more," Jennifer continued. "Sarah had a life insurance policy through her last employer. She never cashed it out. With accumulated interest, it's $150,000, left entirely to the girls." "Their college fund," Adrian said immediately, "already set up. And Adrian, the community center in Harlem, the one Sarah used to take the girls to, is struggling financially. I thought maybe fund it anonymously. Call it the Sarah Mitchell Family Resource Center." Jennifer smiled, already drafted the paperwork. The doorbell rang. More arrivals. Adrian's carefully curated village. The twins' therapist, Dr. Yolanda Harris, who'd helped them process their trauma. Pastor Freeman from the church Patricia had connected them with. 3 kids from the girls' new school for a playdate. The instructor from the African dance class Zara had begged to join. This was family now. Messy, loud, imperfect, real. "Mr. Dawson," one of the moms approached. "The girls are doing so well. Zara's reading level jumped 2 grades, and Zoe's starting to come out of her shell." "They're resilient," Adrian said, watching them play. "Stronger than me." "No," the woman said gently. "They learned that strength from somewhere." As the sun set, Adrian gathered the girls for their nightly ritual. They sat on the porch swing, one daughter tucked under each arm. "Story time," Zoe demanded. Which one tonight? Tell us about Mama and the library, Zara said. It was their favorite. The story of a young man who had helped a struggling student without realizing he'd planted seeds that would bloom years later into this moment. Once upon a time, Adrian began, there was a girl who never gave up, even when life was hard. He told them about Sarah's courage, her love, her sacrifice. He told them they were her greatest achievement. He told them they carried her strength in their hearts. When he finished, Zara looked up at him. Do you think Mama knows that we're okay? Adrian thought of Elena, of Sarah, of all the people who'd shaped this impossible, beautiful second chance. I think she knows, and I think she's proud of you both, just like I am, every single day. Do you miss your old life? Zoe asked. Before us? Adrian pulled them closer. His company was smaller now, more focused. He'd stepped back from the 80-hour weeks, the ruthless ambition. He'd lost billions on paper, and he'd never been richer. My old life? He kissed the tops of their heads. Baby girls, I didn't have a life before you. I had an existence. You gave me a purpose. You gave me love. You gave me everything that matters. We love you, Dad, they said in unison. I love you more than all the stars in the sky. Inside, Patricia started singing, an old gospel hymn about grace and redemption. The guests joined in, their voices carrying through the Brooklyn evening. Adrian closed his eyes and felt it, the weight of grief finally lifting, replaced by something he thought he'd lost forever. Hope. Family. Home. Two little girls had run to him crying in a park 6 months ago, and in saving them, they'd saved him right back. The best investments, Adrian had learned, weren't measured in dollars. They were measured in laughter at the breakfast table, in scraped knees that needed Band-Aids, in school plays and bedtime stories, and the words, I love you, Dad, whispered in the dark. They were measured in the fierce, unconditional love of daughters who'd chosen him, just as he'd chosen them. And that was worth more than all the billions in the world.